Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Plappers. This is Ajay here coming from sunny Queensland in Australia. I just finished once again watching Warren's awesome review on my Whitetown noise mix. He asked of me a few questions, so I thought I would make the time to share a little video on how I got that kick drum sound and the snare drum sound. So here we go. Okay, starting with the kick drums. As you know, within the multi-tracks we were given a kick out, kick in, and a resonant kick, which I assume is a mic right close to the front head on the bass drum. So I started, actually the whole mix I started right here in Kickland. So I've lately been using the Waves F6 EQ slash compressor slash kind of everything tool, which is very handy. And so I started using obviously the high pass filter there. So I've rolled everything fairly steeply on a 12 setting. So at everything from 40 and up. So on band 3, I took out some 500. That's something I learnt from Andrew Sheps in drums, is 500 is not a great frequency. Warren tells us 350 is also not a good frequency, but I think with the Q settings on this, it's caught a lot of that 300 mark anyway. As you can see, it's sort of taking up everything from 250 to 1K, but right on 500. So taken that out, and I've also boosted the 5, which is the what frequency are we here? About 2600 for the snap on the kick. So it sounds like this. So EQ off and on. And so you'll notice too that within this plugin you have some compression. So like a normal compressor, it has a range, a threshold, attack and release. And in this instance, I'm using it to compress, just to even out those so obviously it's a multi-band compressor as well. So on each band you can have the compression happening there. So another thing that I will mention that I've been doing a lot lately is I've been looking at the actual frequencies for each note in a scale. So for instance, this song White Noise Town is in C. So I looked at the frequency chart that I have here and discovered which frequencies are in that C key, especially in the scale of C. So I've been doing this a lot with bottom end, and it seems to be working quite well. So if you can see here on the band 1 that I've set the frequency at 53. Now, if you have a look of the scale on the frequency scale in hertz, a C right down the bottom is at 33 hertz, around about. So I think it's 32 and a half or something. So at 33, that's where a C note is. So if you go up 5 in the scale, you get the 5th of the C scale, which is a G. Now this is why I love this plugin so much, is because as soon as I hover over the display here, you can see up in the right hand corner, it'll be up in this area. So you can see at the moment, because I'm in there, you can see when I move left and right, it actually gives me the readout of not only the hertz but also the note itself of what it represents. So if I hover over here, if you have a look on the top there, if I sort of move it to whereabouts I've got that EQ coming up, you can see that it's sitting on around 50 hertz or so, and it's showing a G. So it's harmonizing that with it in the bottom end. So I've been doing that a lot lately. So it's kind of tuning drums and it's not tuning drums all at the same time. So that's the first thing I did on that kick drum, which is the kick in. So the next one, which is the kick out, again, I've used the F6 and I've boosted again around that same frequency, but it's got quite a wide Q on it. And also you'll notice that the on this channel in particular, the high pass is not engaged. So I've boosted that G again. So if you have a look, if I hover around there, you can kind of see it's in around the G, but it's picking up sort of pretty much that whole range there. And so this time I've wiped out, and I'll explain why later, I've wiped out all of the top end. So there's nothing really coming out of this except all bottom end. Another cool way this plugin works is that you can solo each band as well. So if I actually solo that, it's playing you what's being wiped out. So all you're left is with the thump. So also on this one, I've used a compressor in a different way. I've got the attack really fast and the release about half. You'll see as I play the threshold, it gives you a nice display as well. So I've grabbed quite a bit of that. And the range. Now the range on this plugin is, if you go into the minus, it's compressing. And if you go into the positive or above 0, it starts to expand. And you can actually see on the display there, it's pulling up in this area here. It's pulling that bottom up into in that area there. So you can see it, the threshold working there. So this plugin is really, really cool. I like it a lot. And as you'll notice that the F6 is everywhere on this. And the resonant head, again, I've used the same EQ, but what I've done is just simple stuff here, which is wipe out the bottom end all the way up to 117 there. Again, I've taken 500 out and I've boosted the 4000 range there for a little bit of snap on the head of the kick. By the sounds of that, it's actually sounds like the mic's pulled quite a way back there. So just normal stuff on that kick drum. So all together, so take all the plugins off and back on again. Apologise guys too for the aircon sound, it's quite warm here, so I've got it pumping along in the background there, so I'm sorry if that's distracting you. So that's the kick drum. So what I'll explain to next that I've been using a lot is I've been using what I'm calling a sub bus. So that kick drum that's got all that lovely bottom end in it, what I've done is I've sent that to my sub bus. Sub meaning very, very low end. So the sub bus resides over this side here, and I've been using this other EQ plugin quite a lot, which is the Elosis, or I can't even pronounce it, which is a wonderful EQ. Again, I love it for precise work, and what I've basically done with that is, as you can see, I've wiped out, because it's a sub bus, I've wiped out all the top, all the way down to the 200, as you can see the slope there. And so I have the earth engaged. It gives it a nice sort of crunchiness. I don't know, it does something anyway. And I've also cleaned the bottom end up just a little bit. Now this is where, when Warren said to actually pull it down, I think he said a dB and a half maybe, which is quite a lot in bass world. So what I'd done was I pulled it down in this area here, in the sub area. The frequency is, let's see if it's going to tell us, 25. So it's kind of near that C33 mark, but kind of not as well. So this is where I wiped it down. I did have it up, I think around 6 dB to pull it right up in there. So that's what I've knocked down with his help there. So I've pulled that out in the sound. And so I've also boosted another frequency here, which is our friend, the fifth of the scale, around that 52, 53 mark. So not only is that one kick drum going to the sub bass, I'm actually sending the bass itself. So I've grabbed this bass here, which it says Growler 012. So if I solo that, you'll hear straight away. It's just the very low end. So the way I have been working lately is that I will send out this guy here. I will send that kick to the sub bus for the low end oomph, but you'll actually see there that I've sent it, it's going straight out to the main stereo bus, whereas with the bass I wanted to control that one a little bit more, so this whole channel is actually going to the sub bus. It's not being sent. I wanted to control it on its own. So I have control over that, and I can it doesn't affect the whole mix going there. So that's just the way I've been working lately, and it's been working for me. So I'll just solo the sub bus, and you can, if you've got a subwoofer there on your end, you'll probably be able to pick that up. Otherwise, headphones might pick it up okay, I guess. So you can hear the bottom end of the bass drum thumping through with the bass. And you can also hear the bass line up underneath just groaning away there. So I'll play the whole mix and take the sub bus out of it, and you'll definitely feel presence being taken away. I've been yelling at the top of my lungs. Now I'm shooting out my loudest guns. If you could only hear the sound in this white noise town. So I'll solo the drums without the sub. And now with. Actually, that's a good spot there where there's no bass. So by boosting those particular frequencies in the key of C, the marriage I feel between the bass and the bass drum melds nicely there together. So that's what I've been doing there with the kick drum and the bass guitar sharing a sub bus and controlling it quite a lot. So wiping everything off at the top end and boosting, different frequencies within that one sub bus, and then it gets sent to the main mix bus. Now, the snare drum. Warren loved my snare drum, which I really appreciate because it is actually a snare drum I sampled myself, and I will show you a short little picture or something right here. And I've called it the Humpy Bong snare drum, which makes me laugh each time, but because Humpy Bong's so funny, so fun to say. And so it's basically my Ludwig snare drum recorded under a tunnel of an overpass with a couple of mics, and I just did 3 big hits, came home and fixed the samples up, and that's the sample you can hear right here. So it can sound a little bit robotic here and there, like there. But with the other snare drums up underneath, or along with it. So the bottom snare is there, but it's not that noticeable, but it does do some nice rumbling up underneath. So it's only just subtle, but it's just a little bit of noise. Now, with Warren's sample that he put here, there's a left and a right. So what I basically did with that was I used that as like a reverb and dialed that in with my main sound. So here we go with just my snare sample and the bottom snare. You can really hear the ring of the concrete where I recorded that. And here it is with, I've panned both of these hard left and hard right, and put that in with the sample, and it's nice and wide, and then brought that up with my sample to give it some extra width and body. So if I take it off, and it really is only the top end of each. So I've used the very handy Pro EQ that comes with PreSonus. As you can see, more high passing, and I've boosted that top end. So I just copied that. It's one thing I like about Studio One. I just solo that channel, do the EQ moves that I like, and then just simply drag this across there, and it just doubles that up quite easily. So there's no saving presets and then reloading the plugin and then reload the preset and you've got it again. You just drag it straight across. It copies it. So that's my snare sample there with the extras that are on. Okay, so all the drums together. So thank you all for watching. I hope that helped you understand a little bit how I mixed this kick drum and what the snare drum was in this track. Anyway, as the master says, have a great time recording and mixing. I'll see you guys later on. Bye.